I'm not raised like that. I don't go. I'm not going about my mom. I'm not going. So tell your ass mama dig her ass up and post a picture.
50 Cent posted one photo of Tiny Harris and burned down everything. But the thing he said about King Harris after that, about who his real daddy is, nobody in the game saw that coming. And once you hear what has really been going on inside this marriage for years, you are going to understand why this beef runs way deeper than some Versus battle. The beef, the history, and the bomb 50 dropped. Look, we need to go back to where this thing started, because this is not a story that was born in February 2026. This story has been cooking for close to 20 years, and the only reason it finally blew up the way it did is because one man, Curtis James Jackson III, the man the world knows as 50 Cent, decided he was done playing around and went straight for the throat. The bad blood between 50 Cent and T.I. goes all the way back to the mid-2000s, when both of these men were riding the very top of the rap game. 50 Cent was running G-Unit like a real business, selling millions of records and controlling his lane in a way that very few artists had ever done before. At the same time, T.I., Clifford Joseph Harris Jr. from Atlanta, Georgia, was telling the whole world he was the king of the South, and honestly, his music made it hard to argue with him. These were two of the biggest names in rap, and whenever you put two people like that near each other, some kind of friction is going to come up. In those early years, the tension was quiet, little jabs in interviews here and there, some competitive energy that never quite turned into open war. But by 2007 and 2008, things got much more serious when 50 Cent started pointing at T.I.'s legal problems and asking out loud the kind of question that can follow a man in hip-hop for the rest of his life. He was basically asking whether the King of the South had been talking to the feds. Here is what actually went down. In October 2007, T.I. got arrested in Atlanta during a sting set up by the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives. He tried to buy 3 machine guns and 2 silencers through a bodyguard who was secretly working with the government. These were very serious federal charges and the kind that could have sent a man away for a very long time. Each charge alone carried a possible 10 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. So when the judge handed down the sentence in March 2009 and T.I. got only 1 year and 1 day, people in the rap world started doing the math and the numbers were not adding up for them. 50 Cent was not going to let that slide. On G-Unit's 2008 album called T.O.S., which stands for Terminate on Sight, 50 dropped a track called You So Tough with a line that the whole industry heard: "I got the best lawyers money can buy." They said it would have got me 10 or maybe 9. I said, well, how do you explain how homie breathe? So to keep your mouth shut or you eat the cheese, you so tough. When people pushed 50 in interviews about whether that line was about T.I., he played it cool at first.
You use real life situations to create something that's entertaining without being specific. That's entertainment to me. Like if I had an issue, when have you known me to be indirect with an issue?
Oh, you're pretty direct.
Right, so if I had a problem with any artist, trust me, they would know.
But then he pretty much just confirmed it a few seconds later.
Is that line about T.I.?
Absolutely. For the public to decide.
Now, T.I. has always said he never told on anybody. He said everything he did was personal, that he was trying to get justice for his best friend, Philip Johnson, who got shot and killed in Cincinnati in 2006. He completed over 1,000 hours of community service, traveled to 25 different states, and talked to thousands of young people as part of the deal he made with the courts. But in hip-hop, the accusation of snitching travels 10 times faster than any explanation ever will. After all of that, the beef went quiet for a while. It came back briefly in 2020 when T.I. made some comments about rapper King Von getting killed in Atlanta that 50 Cent felt were disrespectful to a grieving community. But even then, it did not fully explode. That did not happen until 2026, and it did not happen until a conversation about Versus turned into something very personal very fast. In early February 2026, T.I. went on the Nightcap podcast with Shannon Sharpe and Chad Johnson and told the story of how he and 50 were in Los Angeles together working on TV projects, and during that time they apparently talked about doing a Versus battle to celebrate each other's music. According to T.I., they agreed to it, and then when T.I. went public, 50 suddenly acted like he had no clue what T.I. was talking about.
I said I wanted 50, that's what I said. He don't want no smoke though. Oh, Lord! I called my man out, he don't want no smoke, he ducking smoke, it's cool.
And on a separate occasion, T.I. broke it down even more.
We were moving around in LA, man, selling some TV shows and shit while we were around each other, man, you know what I mean? I said, what you think about this? Like, shit, you wanna do that? I said, yes. He was like, all right, cool, so shit. And I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna jump out there first, and then you just gonna jump out there and we'll line it up. Going on. Then that's what it was about. Cause now I question your character.
Now most people would expect 50 to respond with a diss track, or at least come back with some bars. Instead, 50 Cent went a completely different route, one that a lot of people felt crossed a line. He jumped on Instagram and posted a bad photo of T.I.'s wife, Tamika Tiny Harris, with a caption that basically told T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth. Not a shot at T.I. the rapper, not a shot at his catalogue or his legacy, a shot at his wife. That is the moment everything changed, because right there 50 Cent did not just throw gas on a rap beef. He brought a woman into the middle of a fight she had nothing to do with, a woman who had already been through more than most people know about, and that woman happened to have a 21-year-old son named King, who was watching every single move being made on that app. This was not about music anymore, this was about family now, and as you are going to find out in the next part, when you go after this particular family, you are pulling on a thread that has a whole lot of heavy stuff tied to the other end of it. Tiny Harris, the marriage, the rumors, and the secrets. To really understand why 50 Cent going after Tiny hit so hard and why King Harris reacted the way he did, you have to know who Tamika Tiny Harris actually is, and you need to understand what that marriage has quietly been carrying behind the scenes for a very long time. A lot of people think of Tiny as just T.I.'s wife, but that is honestly doing her a disservice. She was well known in music before T.I. was even on the radar. She was born Tamika Diane Cottle on July 14th, 1975 in College Park, Georgia, and she came up as a member of the R&B group Xscape in the early 1990s, a group that was shaping the sound of that whole era. On top of performing, she was writing songs that other artists were building careers on. She co-wrote No Scrubs for TLC and worked on records for Destiny's Child, building a body of work that most people in the music business would be proud to call their whole career. Before T.I., Tiny's personal life was pretty low-key. She was in a relationship with a man named Zonnie Zebo Pullins for about 6 years, starting in 1992, and they had a daughter together named Zonique, who was born in 1996, and who would later become a singer herself with the group OMG Girls. There is also the story Tiny told on their reality show about a short, close connection with Tupac Shakur back in 1994, which she said almost turned romantic, but never actually did, and Tupac passed away in 1996, not long after. Outside of those two, there is nothing in her history that points to any real scandal. She met T.I. in 2001 through the music industry, since Xscape had ties to his label Grand Hustle Records. At first, Tiny was not interested at all. She reportedly turned T.I. down and stood him up more than once, before she finally gave him a real shot. By the mid-2000s, they were fully committed to each other, and they got married in a quiet courthouse ceremony in Miami Beach on July 30th, 2010, before celebrating later in Atlanta and Las Vegas. Together they had 3 children, King, born in 2004, Major in 2008, and Harris in 2016, and they also went through the pain of a stillbirth in 2007. When you add T.I.'s kids from before and Tiny's daughter Zonique, they were raising a blended family of 7 children together. That marriage faced real tests from the very beginning. Just a few months after the wedding, T.I. got arrested again on drug charges while he was still on probation and had to go back to serve more time. Tiny stayed right there beside him through all of it. They even turned their lives into a VH1 reality show called T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, which ran from 2011 to 2017 and let the whole country see their world, both the good times and the hard ones. But behind the scenes, things were cracking. In 2014, T.I. got into a physical fight with boxer Floyd Mayweather Jr. at a restaurant in Las Vegas after rumors spread that Mayweather had been getting too friendly with Tiny. The whole thing was caught on video. Both Tiny and Mayweather denied that anything happened between them. Mayweather said he had known Tiny for years, before she was even with T.I., and Tiny spoke about it herself in a 2018 interview on Candy Coated Nights, and said she did not physically cheat on T.I., but she admitted that Mayweather was flirting with her and that she had been in a place in her marriage where she was not getting the attention she needed. In her own words, "I didn't really cheat. I didn't have any sex. He flirted with me. Everybody needs a little attention, especially if she ain't getting it. That right there tells you a lot about where the marriage was at during that period. The biggest crisis came in December 2016. On December 7th of that year, Tiny filed for divorce in Henry County, Georgia, citing irreconcilable differences and asking for primary custody of their kids. Court papers confirmed it was real. She filed again in April 2017 after the first hearing fell apart because T.I. had not been properly served with the paperwork. And when Tiny spoke about it later, she was very clear about what pushed her to that point. In a 2019 appearance, she described the decision as being about her own self-respect, saying she had been dealing with years of cheating, lying, and disrespect. By the summer of 2017, they pulled back from the edge and decided to stay together. T.I. talked about how Tiny was his best friend and said he could not just throw that away. The last season of their show actually documented how close they came to the end and what it took to get back on solid ground. And they did get back. In 2025, they celebrated 15 years of marriage with a trip to Thailand, sharing video from a yacht and writing captions for each other that made it clear these were two people who had genuinely fought to stay together and come out the other side. T.I. called her the love of his life, and she talked about how much he had grown in the way he loves her over 24 years. Then, in early 2026, they showed up to the Grammy Awards together, dressed well and looking completely solid as a couple, and then 50 Cent posted that photo. Now, the rumors that started flying after that, including the suggestion from 50 that King Harris might not even be T.I.'s biological son, none of that comes from any verified facts or real documentation. What the research shows clearly is that King was born in 2004, 3 years into T.I. and Tiny's relationship, and both of his parents have always raised him and claimed him as their son. The paternity suggestion is just 50 Cent doing what 50 Cent has always done, finding the most painful possible thing to throw at someone and tossing it out there to watch the reaction. Because on top of all the marriage drama, this family was also dealing with something far heavier than a rap beef. Starting in January 2021, more than a dozen women came forward with serious allegations against T.I. and Tiny together, claiming they had been drugged, sexually assaulted, held against their will, and trafficked across a period stretching from 2005 to 2018. The couple denied every single allegation and called the whole thing a coordinated attempt to get money from them. Their lawyer, Steve Sado, called it a sordid shakedown campaign and said none of it had merit. Their VH1 show was shut down while the network looked into the claims. The LAPD opened a full investigation in May 2021, but by September of that year, the Los Angeles County District Attorney said they would not be filing any charges because the time limit on the oldest cases had already passed. Nothing came out of Georgia either. In January 2024, one of the accusers, an Air Force veteran going by Jane Doe, filed a civil lawsuit using a California law that lets people bring cases even after the normal deadline if they can show there was a cover-up. T.I. and Tiny fought to have it thrown out, and in August 2024, a federal judge dismissed the case, though the plaintiff was given a chance to refile with more details. No charges, no convictions. But the shadow from all of that never fully went away. So, when 50 Cent decided to post Tiny's photo and make her the target of a joke, he was not just clowning a rapper he had beef with over a Versus deal, near divorces, cheating allegations, and a federal investigation. He was doing it in front of millions of people like it was nothing. That is what set off everything that came next, and that is exactly why King Harris did not just respond calmly. He came out swinging with everything he had. King Harris goes to war, the internet splits, and 50 Cent deletes everything. The second King Harris saw that photo of his mother sitting on 50 Cent's Instagram page, something clicked in him that was not going back to a quiet place. He is 21 years old, and he has been in the public eye his whole life, growing up as the son of two famous people with cameras always nearby. He has watched his mother get talked about, speculated about, and dragged through gossip sites since he was old enough to scroll through a phone, and now the same man his father had been going back and forth with for weeks had just put her photo up on the internet to use as a punchline in a rap argument. What happened next was not some planned PR move. It was not a carefully written diss track with a label behind it. King Harris went straight to Instagram stories and let everything out in a raw, unfiltered way that the whole internet watched happen in real time. And he went to a place that most people in hip-hop understand as a line you simply do not cross. He brought up 50 Cent's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who was murdered back in 1983 when 50 was only 8 years old. King said that if 50 wanted to go around posting pictures of people's mothers, he was ready to post hers. He even shared what looked like a photo of her gravesite.
I want to say something about my mama. Your mama. Your mama. Go dig her up. Go dig her up. Post a picture of your mama. She pay respect. Stop playing with my mama.
50 Cent's reaction to all of that, staying true to his whole style, was a Pepe the Frog meme with LOL written on it and a message telling King to stay out of grown men's business. King did not stay out of it. On February 23rd, he kept pushing, calling 50 an attention seeker who had been running the same tricks for nearly 30 years. He brought up the fact that 50 survived getting shot 9 times in the year 2000, an event that 50 has built a big part of his own story around, and said that surviving something like that and still acting the way 50 does was not actually impressive. He brought up how 50's 2007 album Curtis got outsold by Kanye West's Graduation in one of the most talked about album release battles the rap world has ever seen. He posted old photos of 50 Cent at a radio station holding large sex toys. He came after 50's son Sire over a photo of the two of them together. He tagged Diddy, Rick Ross, Ashanti, and other big names into his posts to make the whole thing as wide and public as possible. T.I. stood right behind his son and then went further on his own. On February 23rd, T.I. released a diss track called The Right One, going after 50 for being someone who talks a big game but avoids real competition, someone who struggles to keep women in his life because of deep pain he never dealt with after losing his mother so young. He also previewed another track called War that was produced by DJ Tump, which was set to be part of his final album called Kill the King. T.I. also released a track called What Bully and paired it with the old infamous photo of 50 Cent looking extremely thin and weak during his dramatic weight loss for a 2011 film called All Things Fall Apart, a photo that had embarrassed 50 for years. T.I.'s older son, Domani, also joined the fight and released his own diss record that sampled Outkast's classic song Ms. Jackson, which, given the whole situation, was a very pointed and deliberate choice. Then, on February 24th, King Harris dropped his own diss track called Made Man, a 21-year-old who had spent his whole life hearing people call him a Nepo baby, somebody who only has a platform because of his parents, was now standing directly in the ring with one of the most experienced and tested trolls the rap game has ever produced. Throughout all of this, 50 Cent barely acknowledged the music at all. Instead, he kept doing something far more calculated. He promoted his Broadway show, a revival of August Wilson's play Joe Turner's Come and Gone, set to open on April 25th, 2026, with a caption that read, "Opening night, April 25th. No rappers, no bad BBLs, no little up albino kids, just sold out Broadway." Almost everyone who read that understood the albino kids part as a direct shot at one of T.I. and Tiny's children, who has albinism, a condition that affects skin and hair color. That post got deleted. Most of the posts he made connected to this beef eventually got deleted, but the move that really cost 50 whatever goodwill he still had left came when he went after someone nobody expected him to go near. Tina Knowles, who is Beyoncé's mother, had reposted a nice video of Tiny Harris as a quiet show of support, writing a caption about what real feminine energy looks like. Tiny thanked her in the comments, and 50 Cent responded to that by posting a photo of Tina Knowles with a caption mocking the idea of grandmothers getting involved in beef. He followed that up with a gif of Solange Knowles, Beyoncé's sister, pulling off her earrings, which was a clear reference to the famous 2014 elevator fight she had with Jay-Z, and he captioned it as a warning about killers. Beyoncé's fanbase, known as the Bayhive, came at him immediately and with the kind of force that only that particular group of fans can bring. The backlash was so strong and so fast that by February 25th, 50 Cent had deleted every single post he had made about the whole feud. Think about that. The man who spent 20 years never backing down from anybody, the man who outlasted Ja Rule, Rick Ross, and Diddy in public beef situations, quietly deleted everything and went silent. The whole situation got so viral and so big that actual police departments were reportedly receiving calls about it, not because anyone was in danger, but just because people were so deep in the drama that they apparently felt law enforcement needed to know. That one detail tells you everything about how completely this story swallowed the internet. People online are still split right down the middle on this. One side says 50 Cent started it by bringing Tiny into a beef she had no part in, and that everything King did after that was just a son protecting his mother, plain and simple, nothing more to discuss. The other side says King went too far by going after the memory of 50's murdered mother, and that no matter what 50s did first, there are some things in life you simply do not bring up. Both of those arguments have real weight behind them, and neither side is completely wrong. What is difficult to argue with is the bigger picture here. 50 Cent has been running the same playbook for more than 2 decades. He pokes at people, he trolls, he posts something that gets under their skin, and then he waits for the emotional reaction. The more emotional the response, the more the internet decides he won the whole exchange, no matter who actually said the smarter or harder things. That formula worked on Ja Rule, it worked on Rick Ross, it worked on a long list of people who let him pull them out of character. The question that this particular situation is raising is whether that same formula still works when the person firing back is not the original opponent, but a 21-year-old son who is willing to go to places his father never would have gone. When 50 Cent went after Tiny, he did not find a soft spot in the TI camp like he thought he did. He found the most protected person in the building. What do you think about this case? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.